all know, database management system is one of the most used concepts to handle your dataset, to manage your data, and also to manipulate your data. There is a concept in database management system which is known as joins, how to make a join between two different table or more than that. So keep that in our mind. We came up with a tutorial where we are going to talk about the join techniques in MySQL. So in this particular video, we will see what are the types of joins we have and how to implement them in MySQL Workbench. So before start the tutorial, let me introduce that Great Learning has came up with the idea that is Great Learning Academy, where you will get almost 80 plus free courses, and after complete your course you can claim your certificate as well. And if you want to do these courses in a mobile application, that is also possible using Great Learning app. So let's get started with the tutorial. So already we have looked about the demo for how can you use the predefined functions in MySQL. Now we will have a look at how can you make those tables using the key concepts. Already we make a table with primary key, right? Now also we are going to use other keys like foreign key and other key concept we have learned. But before that, we will have a look at Alias. So in the demo, I have already give you the idea why do we need Alias. Alias is basically if you want to give a name for a like column you are making with some conditions, right? Or if you want to rename some attributes using Alias, you can do that. So basically Alias is a giving a nickname. So Alias concept is used in SQL to give a temporary name to the table or the column of the table, right? So if you want to change a table name, you can use Alias, and this Alias concept are used using as, right? Now we will have a look at the joins in SQL. But wait, why do we need to go for joining a table? Because if you are going to use a relational database management system, that time you already have a relation between different table, right? And to use those relation, that key concepts comes into the picture, right? So we use those key concepts to actually prove the relation between the tables we have. But what actually it help us? So basically it helping us to fetch the data, to fetch a proper data, right? And to filter your data as well, right? So now we will have a look at how this actually fetching part and helping us to fetch the data from databases using this relational database management concepts we will have a look at, right? So first we will start with what is join in SQL. So a join concepts, which is basically a clause used to combine rows from different table based on condition. Suppose, let me give you an example for that. Suppose you have a table called customer and you have a table called account, right? Now you want to see, maybe you have customers in your database, but those customer does not have any account in your bank, right? Now you want to filter what are the data, what are the customer you have, actually those customer having account in your bank, okay, or in your apps maybe, right? So in this case you want to filter your data, but your customer table is a different table and account table is a different table. How can you join them if they both does not have any relation? Yes, this is where this join SQL joins comes into the picture. It basically help you to merge two table and get the similar like match data from them. Now we will have a look at what are the types of join we have in SQL. So first we have inner join, then we have left join. So all total we have 5 joins, right? We have right join, we have full join and self join, right? Now you can see there's a set diagram. We are quite familiar with that set theory, right? Yes, this SQL joins also quite maintains this set theory concepts, and one by one we will have a look at how this is going to work, right? For each of the joins we are going to do the demo, and also we will look into the theory as well. Now we will start with inner join. From the name itself, you can understand it's if there is any inner connection between the table, it's going to return those. So let me give you a proper example for that. The inner joins helps to select the matching records from the both table. Yes, the example I was giving before. So if you have the customer in your customer table and if you have the customer in your account table, right, which are the customer is already present in your customer table, then only it's going to give you the records, right? So basically it will help you to return whatever the customer you have in your account. So if your customer have account in your apps or in your bank, then only it's going to return the customers. If that particular customer does not have the account in your like apps or in your bank, then this customers will not be returned by the query. So now we will go to MySQL workbench and we will have a look at how this inner join concepts works. But if you look at the image, you can see that it will only take the common from A and B. So if A is your table and B is your another table, it will take the common from both of them, right? So let's go to MySQL workbench and let's have a look at how it's gonna work. Before that, we are going to make our tables with the key concepts to understand this as well. So let's go. Now I am going to make a new table over here and I am going to start my SQL joins concept. So I will start with a table. So I have already written that table code because it's gonna take a lot time. So yeah, let me just copy this part and I will explain each and every line I have over here in the table, right? Control C and yes, I'm going to write. So it's quite similar with the previous table we have worked on. This table name is customer over here right now, and we have customer ID, we have if name, the first name, middle name, last name, we have CT, and then we have mobile number, occupation, and DOB, that is date of birth, but we don't have age. Here I know you guys have a question, why this constraint and what this is going on, right? So basically this constraint is you are going to say, okay, my table has a constraint and that constraint is basically a primary key. So in that case, if you want to write that, if you don't want to write primary key that directly we did before, so in that time you need to write constraint, then you need to give a name of that constraint. My case, customer cust ID PK, right? That is primary key. And then I am going to write that primary key, okay, and in the bracket I am going to write which attribute, right, which column I need to make as a primary key. So my case, this is customer ID, okay. So this is how we actually in a professional way we declare our constraints or the key for that particular table. Now I am going to use one more table called account, the same example I have given, right? Now I am going to just copy this because it's gonna take a lot time to write this. Yes, okay. So here I am going to write them. Just okay. So what I have in my account table and how can I create that account table, right? The same syntax we have, that create. Then what you want to create? I want to create a table. Create table, and what is your table name? My table name is account, right? And then I said, okay, in my account table, there will be some attributes I want to be added. What are those attributes? I want account number, that is SE number. And the type of that attributes is varchar. And the length of that attribute is 6. Then I have a customer ID. If you can remember, we also have an attribute in customer table, that is customer ID, right? So we have customer ID over here. And that customer ID varchar, the data type of that customer ID is varchar and the length of that is 6. Now we have BID. So this is basically your branch ID, right? And this is also a varchar. The length of that varchar is 6. Now I am going to check what is my opening balance. From that you can understand this is a bank table, like bank account, right? Yes. So bank account, in that opening, what is your opening balance? When we are going to open our account, we need to give some value, right? We need to give some rupees. So in that case, I am going to write opening balance. So what is that opening balance type? Will be integer. And that will be 7 digit, not more than that. Okay. And then we have AOD date, account opening date, right? And what type is it? It is a data type. Data type is date. Then we have a type of account, savings account. It can be some other options, right? So in that case, A type, and this is also a varchar. And the length of that varchar is 10. Now we have a status, that account status. This account is active account or the account is closed account. So this active account is also varchar, the data type, and the length is 10. Now comes the constraint part. Here we need to use two constraints. But wait, why do we need to use two constraints? Because one is your primary key and second one is your foreign key. There comes the foreign key concepts, right? Okay, so we have already talked about what is foreign key. Foreign key is basically that that particular key, like the customer ID, is already a primary key in customer table. Now in this table, this customer ID is not a primary key, but it is an attribute of the account table, right? So in this case, our customer ID can be a foreign key. But wait, why do we need to use a foreign key? Basically, this actually makes the connection between two tables. When we are going to write the query, that time we will understand how this foreign key concepts works, right? So now we need to write constraint and then the constraint name. For my account number will be account number PK. That's a primary key. For that I am using PK. And then we have written primary key and which attribute you want to make a primary key, right? So my case is account number. Okay. Then I am going to actually write my foreign key concept. So in that case, I am going to write, okay. So in this case, my constraint name, I have given account customer ID FK, right? So we are not going to use this constraint name anywhere, but yeah, it's a way of declaring the constraint in the table. Then we have written that foreign key. The key name is foreign key. But which one you want to make a foreign key? Obviously the customer ID, because this customer ID attributes is present in account and as well as customer, right? And for the references, you need to give a reference to your table. Okay, see, this is why I am making this as a customer key. See, references that my customer table has this customer ID as a primary key, right? So this is the actual scenario. How can you start using your key concepts in the table, right? Now let me just execute this part. Let me just create the table. Okay, both the table I can just execute one at a time. Okay, fine. Let me just write this, use demo. Okay, let me just do that. Okay, so let me do one thing. This table is not created. I am going to create the account one first. No, you got an error. Why you are getting the error? Because your customer table does not exist in your database, right? If this customer table does not exist, how can you give the references, right? So yes, whenever you are going to write any foreign key or any key concept, be sure you are actually maintaining all the rules, right? Let me just do that. Okay, I'm going to execute this. No. Okay. Oh my God. See what I have done. I have not select all the part. For that, it's going to give me the error. Be sure whenever you are working with MySQL, if you have a minor mistakes with your syntax, you will get an error, right? Okay. Now my customer table is created. Now I want to create my account table. Yes, my account table is also created. But wait, I want to see what are the table I have in my database. So again, I'm going to use the same command, right? Show what? Tables. Right? Okay. Let me just execute this. Yes, you can see I have the table of account and customer both. Now we need to do one thing. What? Anyone can guess? Yes, we need to actually insert our data. If we don't have data, how can you see what are the records it's going to provide? So I have already written down the data and I'm just going to copy paste it. Okay, fine. So let me just take this all data over here. So yes, I am going to just copy it. Okay. So you can see for customers what values I have. I have C001, almost same, Ramesh Chandra Sharma and this other thing. Now in the account, what we have, the account number A001, customer ID is C001 and the branch ID is B001. Then the opening balance is 1000. The date of opening is this and this is a savings account. This is active, right? Now let me just execute this part as well. All the values we have. Yes, you can see all the data are already inserted. Now I am going to use a select command for each of them, and I'm going to check this data is inserted or not, right? Let me write select star from where. First one I want to check from customer, right? Customer table. Let me do that. Yes, this is all inserted, you can see, right? Now what I need to do, I am going to check select star from where? From account. Let me just execute that. Okay, so in this case you can see both of the table are full with the data. Now I am going to use a inner join, right? How can I do that? Let me just write it down over there. I need to write select. So what I just want the first name of all the customers who are present in both of the table, right? So I'm going to write select if name, right? Comma, maybe account number as well. So in my case, account number was written as. So here I am going to do the inner join. But what I want to take, I need to take account number, and what else? I need to take the first name, right? So let me check how can we do that using inner join, right? So let's get started. So first I need to write what? I need to write select this because this is the like basic command if we want to fetch any data, right? Now what we need to do, we need to write which column or which attribute we want to fetch. For my case, I want to fetch if name, right? And then comma, and if name is from customers and account number is from account, right? So AC number, right? Let me just write down AC number. Now I need to write what? Okay, I have selected two different attributes from two different table. Now I need to write from where. From, I am going to say the first table is my customer table, right? Okay, customer. Now I am going to write what join you are doing. I am doing inner join, right? Inner join. And then this is the syntax when we are going to write inner join. Then we are going to write from customers inner join, and which table? That account table, right? I have written account. Okay, now I need to provide which key are going to actually going to merge the table, right? Or not even merge, it's going to help to inner join the table. In this case, now I need to write on, okay, and what? That is customer, right? This is basically taking the table name customer dot cust id, right? If I am not wrong, the cust id was my, yes, cust id, right? Be sure that whatever spelling you are writing, otherwise you will get an error. Is equals to from now which table? From now account table dot and then cust id, right? Let me just execute that. Yes, we got it. So we got Ramesh. Ramesh has two account, Avinash has two account, Rahul also have two account, Chitresh, Amit. But how can you sure that your data, whatever the data you have get, it is right? So we can use count variable and we can check how many data we have in our customer table and how many of data we have in our count table. And let's see what count we get over here, right? So how can we do that? We need to write select count, and maybe you can write star over here. It doesn't care. It will just check all of them from customer, right? A same from select count, then maybe star from account, right? Okay, so first one, let me just do that. Okay, so first customer I have for 10, and for account, let me just try. We have 10. Here I need to check this part. Okay, So the same query will be same, but here, sorry, I am going to write if name and okay. So I want to count the if name. Shit, what I have done to write if name from. Right, let me just check. But here also we get 10. Why? We have the repeated value. Maybe for this case we are getting 10 all the time. But if we do it manually, let me just go back to the insert value. Yeah, you can see we have Parul, we have Naveen, we have Chitresh, right? But here we don't get any value called, let me just go that, yeah, we also have Parul, Chitresh, let me just check it manually. Ramesh we have Avinash, okay, Amit we have, Nisha we have, you can see we have Nisha. Let me just try that Nisha we have, but we don't have Nisha over here. You can see we got Ramesh twice, Avinash twice, Rahul twice, right? So in this case, we do not have anything called Nisha. So you can see from that, whatever the data we got, this both of the customers is present is customer table and as well as account table. So this is the concept of inner join, right? So now we will go back to our presentation again and let's have a look at what are the other types of join we have, right? And how can we implement them and how can we use them to sort out data. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. Now we are going to talk about what is left join and how we can actually do the left join in MySQL. So what is left join basically? The left join helps to fetch all the records from the left table and the matching records from the right table. As you can see in the image that A table is basically you will get all the records from A table and from the B table you will only get the matching records, right? So let's go to MySQL Workbench and let's have a look at how we can actually implement this, right? Let's go to the MySQL Workbench. So here I'm going to do these things from the scratch and we will make our own database and we will use those database and then we will make a table. So according to that table, we will fetch our data using left join, right? So let's get started. First, we are going to use a command called create, right? From create command, we need to create what? We need to create a database. So we are going to write create database and then my database name is my database 2, right? So this is my database name, that my demo database 2. Now I need to execute that. For executing that, you need to select the command and just press on this run. Okay, so yes, you can see your database is created. Now what you need to do, you need to use that particular database. So for that I am going to use command and then my demo database 2. The same particular, maybe for my case I am using my demo database 2. For if you want to use some other database, you can go for using the same command, that what particular database you want to use for your particular operation, right? So I have used my demo database 2. Then just click on execute button, right? Yes, this is also executed. So you can see you got a message when you write create database my demo database 2 that one row is affected. So that means your database is created. But when you write that use my database, my demo database 2, that time there is no row affected. That means there is nothing is created or inserted. What actually happened is just your command says, okay, from this I am going to use my database 2, my demo database 2. Whatever the table you are going to create on this, whatever the data you want to insert, it's going to take in that particular database only, right? Now what we need to do, we are going to create a table called customer. What are the attributes have in that table? It has customer ID, first name, middle name, last name, city, mobile number, occupation, date of birth, and lastly we have the constraint, that is primary key. So we all know why we use primary key. So we use primary key to reduce the data redundancy, right? So if you look at the table attributes, so cast ID is basically a varchar, right, which can contain character type, okay, or the number as well. The length of the varchar is 6, right? Now it comes to first name. When I write if name, and this is also a varchar. And when we are putting the limitation, like the maybe what will be the length of your first name or customer ID, because we want to manage our memories as well. So if you use a like high number length for a particular attributes, that in that particular case maybe your memory is occupied but you are not using it. So what's the point of actually wasting the memory, right? So in that case we use if name. Varchar is maximum 30, so we can assume that anyone's name, like some person's name cannot be more than 30 character, right? So in that case we use 30. For middle name again we are using 30. For last name again we are using 30. But for the CT we are using 50, because we know that CT name cannot be a 30 character, right? So for that we are using 15. Now comes the mobile number. So we all know mobile number character should be 10, right? So we use varchar, that is 10. Then comes the occupation, that is also 10. Lastly, we use date of birth, but the type of that date of birth attributes is date. So that is comes with MySQL, right? Then we have written constraint customer name cast IDPK. Basically, you are giving a constraint name to the particular table, right? So if you don't want to use constraint customer custom ID PK, that is the primary key, so you can directly write after this that primary key. This one you want to make a primary key, but this is a good practice to use a constraint and then the constraint name and then which one you want to make that particular constraint. So for my case, I want to make cust ID as a primary key, right? Now we want to just execute this part. Let me just execute that. Yes, you can see 0 rows affected, but this is actually created. Your table customer is created. Now what you need to do, you just, if I want to see what are the tables is actually created in my database or not, it's like we are actually going to use the same database or not. So in that case, we are going to use a command called show tables. Let me just execute that. This command we use to check what are the tables we have in our particular database, right? So let me just execute that. Yes, you can see our customer table is created, but it does not have any values in it. But yes, there is a table structure called customer is there in your database. Now we are going to make a table called branch. So basically here we are trying to make a database management system that is for bank, right? So it's a very basic one. In later in the section also we will gonna do some good projects, and maybe 2-3 projects we are going to do to understand how you actually can design your database and how you can start like making your own tables, and what are the constraints you are going to use, and what are the constraints it's really needed, right? So yeah, we will do in the later in the section, but here we are just going to make a very small like portion of a bank management system, right? So here we have branch. We know that banks are actually having their own branches. So here we are going to store all the branch details, right? So what are the attributes we have in the table called branch? So we have BID, that is branch ID. Again, the branch ID cannot be a big number, so we took 6 as a character, that a varchar type. Okay, then the branch name, that is can be 30. Okay, so we use varchar 30. Then which city that particular branch is currently situated, so that city name. Then we use a constraint that is branch BID PK, that is we want to make BID, that branch ID, as a primary key, right? So in that case I have said constraint branch BID PK, that is primary key, and this is which attributes I want to make a primary key, that is BID, right? Then what we did, we actually create one more table. Before that, let me just execute that. Yes, you can see our 0 rows is affected, but your table is created. Again, if you want to check your table is created or not, again write show and then tables. Just don't forget to put the semicolon, because it is one of the most important syntax in SQL. So if you don't maintain their syntaxes, you will get an error. Okay, you can see we got 2 tables, that is customer and branch, right? Yes. So this is how actually our database concepts works, right? So we made 2 tables. One is customer and second one is branch. Now we are going to make one more table, that is called account. But what are the attributes we are going to add on that particular account table, right? So account table will be connected with branch as well as connected with customers as well, right? So let's have a look at what are the attributes we have. So in account table, we are going to have account number, that is one of the most used number, you can say that everyone needs to have the account number. Then we are going to have customer ID, right? So that is already we have in customer table as well. Then we are going to have branch ID, right? So branch ID also we have in branch table. Then we will going to have a other data like what is the opening balance. Then maybe the opening balance can be 0, or someone start with their opening balance with 1000, right? So we want to make a proper data for that. Then AOD, right? What is AOD? The account opening date. Okay, so at what date you have open your accounts, that type will be date type, right? But if you see in the opening balance, we are going to use the type of opening balance is int, right? So we are not going to use varchar, because obviously the amount we are going to like use for the opening balance, that should be int, right? Then it's we have a type, your account type, that can be savings, that can be other options, right? Then account type. Then we have a status, that is account status, that it is active or you just terminated your account, right? So this is the status column or status attribute we have. Then we are going to make our constraints. So what are the constraints we are going to make? First, account number pk, that is the primary key we are going to make for account table, that is account number, right? So in my account table, account number will be my primary key. Then we are going to have a foreign key. So we all know the concepts of foreign key, right? So if you want to fetch data and if you want to join two tables together, that time this foreign key concept comes into the picture, right? So first we are going to attach two tables together. One is account number, that is account table, and second one is the customer table. How we can do that? For that, you can see in the customer table as well, we have customer ID. In account, we have customer ID as well, right? In both of the table, we have customer ID. So in that case, our customer ID will be our foreign key, right? So yes, so we have foreign key for both of the table and we are going to make this as our foreign key, right? Now we are going to attach two more tables, that is account table and the branch table. But how we can do that? If you look at the account table, you can see we have BID, that BID column or the attributes, as well as in the branch table also we have BID, right? So both of the cases we have BID and we will take BID as a foreign key, right? So this is how we are actually making the relation between different tables, right? So you need to have a proper relation between tables to fetch those data. Okay, so now we are going to execute the account table. Okay, let me just execute that. Yes, you can say 0 rows affected, and what it's going to say, it's already your table is created. Now I am going to use the same command, that what are the tables I have in my database right now. So show tables and then semicolon. So always put the semicolon. This is when I started my journey in MySQL, I used to get lots of error because of this. I used to forget to put the semicolon. So never forget to put the semicolon, right? Yes, you can see we have three tables over here. One is customer, one is branch, one is account, right? Now we are going to add some values to this tables to see how left join works, right? So let's see how we can start putting our data into the tables. Now we are going to insert our data into customer table. But how we can do that? First, we need to write insert into command and then which table you want to put your data, right? My table is customer. First, for my customer table, I want to add some data to that particular table. For that, I am going to write insert into, then the table name, that customers. Then I am going to put the values, the data I want to put. Then values C001, that customer ID, then the name is Ramesh, the middle name is Chandra, and the last name is Sharma, right? And he is belonging from Delhi. His number is 95431985, right? And the occupation is service and his date of birth, right? So this is how we are going to insert all the data. I am trying to put some of the data basically to understand how this left join concepts works. Then we have the second value, that is Avinash. Now, if you look at this, you can see there is a null. I have no data for this. So if you see, I can put null in some of the columns, but if you want to put null for your primary key, that is not allowed. You will get an error. So let's have a look at if I want to make a, maybe I want to put a data, right? First, I'm going to put some, like the data is gonna take, and I want to try that as a null value for a primary key. Is it gonna take, or it's gonna give you error for that, right? So let's have a look at that. First, I am going to insert first two row. Okay, so first two row are fine. There is no null value. Yes, so this is inserted. You can see one row is affected, one row is affected, right? So this is how we can actually put our data in a particular table. Now, what I am going to do, I am going to write insert, then into, then which table I want to insert, that is customer. And from there, I need to put what? I need to put values, right? So values, and from there, I am going to write, maybe my primary key will be null, okay? From there, I am going to write Shima, and middle name for R will be Kumari, okay? So from there, I am going to write, okay. So if you can see, I have, just a second. Okay, so if you can see over here, I have written the primary key is null, then the name is Shima, and then the middle name is Kumari, and then maybe Sharma, the last name, okay? Then I am going to write, this is Kolkata, okay? Then the number will be 98765, okay? 213, okay? Cool. So this is how we are going to add the phone number. Let me just add that. Okay, now I am going to write the service is she is a servicewoman, and yeah, then from there I am going to write the date of birth. I am just copy pasting it, just going to change the data. Okay, so maybe it's gonna be 1 and it's gonna be 18. Let's have a look at, and again, don't forget to put the semicolon. Now, I am going to try to add it. But you can see, customer ID cannot be null. You can see that what we are actually saying in that time, your primary key cannot be null. So, as you see, my primary key is null. For that, it's giving me an error code. Now, if I want to add the same contact or the same data twice, maybe already I have inserted this, right? So how we actually check the data? How can you fetch all the data from your table? We know we are going to write select star from where? Your table name, that is customer. Okay, right. So let's have a look at what are the data we have in our table. So you can see Ramesh and Avinash is already there. Now what I am going to do, I am going to again want to insert Avinash, right? With the same key. Okay, you can see error code duplicate entry C00002. Okay, so from here you can understand your primary key cannot be null, your primary key cannot be duplicated, right? So in this case you have to put a, like, emphasizing in this cases, because you have to understand how this primary key concepts works. Because if you want to go for any interview, that time they will focus on how much you are good with the constraints, because when you are going to use the big data set, right, you need to make a relation between them. You have to be very sure that what are the relation you are putting over there, because they will be all connected, and from basis on that only you can manipulate data and you can fetch your data, right? So now what we are going to do, we are going to insert the raised data. Okay, let me just execute that. Yes, you can see all of the data are like already inserted in my table. Now I am going to write select again star from customer. So basically I want to see what are the data I have, whatever the data I have already inserted to my table, it is already properly inserted or not. Okay, so now I am going to execute that. You can see Ramesh, Avinash, Rahul, Parul, Navin, all Shankar, all are inserted. Okay, if you can look at it, customer ID is not null for anyone, because it's not gonna take any data if your primary key is null. Right, now we are going to insert data for branch. Okay, so for branch we have BID, the branch ID, then the branch name, and the where your branch is situated, which city it is. Okay, so in that case, your BID, the branch ID, is your primary key. So already I have explained that how your primary key works, but again I am repeating this because if you keep if you keep remembering this, okay, primary keys is this, and for primary key we are not allowed to give any null value, or primary key, for the primary key we cannot give duplicate value. That will basically help you to remind all the constraint, because we have multiple constraint, but most important constraint, if you ask me, then I should say primary key and the foreign key are the most important constraint you need to understand them. Right, now I am going to insert all the value into my branch table. Right, let me just execute that. Yes, you can see all of them are inserted. Now again I am going to write the same command to understand how whatever the data I have actually inserted to my table, it's properly inserted or not. Select star from where the branch, the table name, okay, and again the semicolon. Let me just execute that. Yes, you can see I have branch ID P00123445 and the branch name and the city. That is, all of them are in Delhi and one of them is Mumbai. Right? Now you can see our branch table and our customer tables is filled with the data. Now we are going to fill our account table with the data. You can see our account table primary key was account number. And from there, your customer ID, then branch ID, then the opening amount you have, right? Then the date of opening of your account and what type of account you have, savings account you have or any other type, right? And then your account status, that is active, you're suspended or terminated, anything, right? So for most of the cases, I have savings account, and most of the cases my account is active. Some of the cases I have suspended and the terminated, right? Let me just insert them in the table called account. So in that case, if you want to execute multiple time at a time, what you need to do, you just need to select that part and just click on execute. So all of them will be executed, right? Okay, and one more thing, be sure in that whatever the sequence you are putting your data, in the same sequence you have attribute in your table. Otherwise, you will get an error. Let me just show you how you can get an error if you are going to give in order is not same, right? So maybe in the last one, it's already inserted. We are going to see that it is inserted or not in our table. But before that, I want to show you that, yeah, if you are not going to make the proper order, okay, you will get an error. So insert into account and then values, I am going to write 1. So our primary key is not same. And here I am going to write C004, but I am going to change the order over here. Okay, so after this, maybe I am going to write. Okay, let's have a look at it's going to tick or not. But yes, I need to change. No, I don't need to change this because the branch ID can be same, right? Yes, you can see error code cannot add or update child or foreign key constraint fails because the thing is that you are not maintaining the proper order. If you are not going to maintain a proper order, obviously you will get an error. So always whenever you start working with MySQL, be sure these are the part you have to remember. The semicolon part, the proper ordering, whatever the ordering you have given in the table when you are creating the table, right? And when you are inserting the data in that particular table, be sure that order is same, otherwise you will get an error, right? Now we are going to check that is the data is already inserted in our account or not. For that, we are going to use the same syntax. Select start from what account, which table, right? That is account, then the semicolon. Let me just execute that. Yes, you can see I have account number A001 and the customer ID is C001 and branch ID is B001, opening balance 10,000. Sorry, 1,000, and the status is active, A type savings and AOD, right? All of your data is already inserted in your account. Now we are going to perform our left join concepts. How our left join wants. In that case, maybe we want all the data from the customer ID, okay, all the data from customers who are actually there in the account. Okay, so in that case, let's have a look at how we can start doing that. Now we are going to make our SQL left join. How we can do that? Before that, what we can do, maybe if you have a lots of data and if you want to make sure that your data is fetched properly from the table or not, you can use a count function, right? So we basically use count function to understand how many inserts, how many rows you have in your table, right? So for my case, if I write select count and what you want to count, maybe I want to count the customer ID from customers, right? So as it's a primary key, you know there is no null value is there. So whatever the count you have, whatever the data you have, you will get the proper count of that, right? Let me just do that. Yes, you can see you have 10 data in your customer table. Now, if I want to do the same thing with the account table, what we can do, we can write account number, as account number is our primary key, right? Let me just copy that. Okay. Now I am going to write count, account ID, and from account, which table you want to have that count. You can see both are 10. Okay, so these are the, like for my case, maybe this is 10. For your case, maybe the customer ID will be large, but the account number will be less, because we all know that maybe you have the database, you took the data from the customer, but they did not open any account in your bank particularly, maybe. So in that case, maybe you have a large number of customers in the data in the table, but as a account, like who has the account in your bank, that time you have less number of customer, right? So in that case, maybe you can check, okay, I want all the customers from my table and the customer who has actually account number. So what it will happen when you are going to use a left join, so you will get all the result from customer, right? But for the account, you will get only those customers who are matching with the customer table, right? So in that case, what I have written, select, okay, star basically is basically you want all the data, all the columns from your table, right? So select star from where? Star from the customer table. So I want all the data from the customer table. Then I have written left join. So the join will be left join. Then from which, like with which table you want to join. So for my case, I want to join with account, right? So select star from customer. So I want all the data from customer which is like similar with account, right? Which are matching with account on which key you want to save, which attribute. So we all know customer ID is the foreign key for customer and account, right? Because customer ID is already there in a customer table and customer ID is also there in the account table. Then I have written customer.cast ID is equals to account.cast ID, right? Let me just execute that. Yes, if you look at it, you can see I have customer ID, if name, last name, CT, mobile number, all the thing. Okay, so you can see over here I have AOD and all. But if you can look over here, right, they don't have any account number. Okay, but still the customer is already there. The customer data is there. But maybe you want to say, okay, I want only those customer, right? I want only those customer who has the account in my bank. So in that case, you need to change the order. I am going to write account, okay, select star from account, left join, then customer, okay. Now, okay, customer. Now I am going to write what? I am going to write, okay, account, our table name, same. You are just swapping the places, okay. So you can see the difference between them. And you will understand the left join properly as well. You can see, okay. So here you can see all the data, okay. But here if you see account number, every one of them has the account number. And customer ID without account, you didn't get any data who does not have any account, right? So in this case, you want all the customer with the account in your bank. And before that, when we are using the customer in the like when we have the customers, that time it was giving all the customer irrespective with the customer has account in your bank or not, right? So this is the concepts of left join, how you can actually get all your data according to your uses. Maybe sometime you want all the customer, maybe they have account number or not, you don't care about it. Sometime you want a customer who is actually in your customers, basically they have their bank account with you, right? So this is how we are going to use left join. Now let's go to the presentation back and let's have a look at what else we have, what are the other joins we have in our MySQL. Now we are going to talk about what is right join. So we have looked into left join, we looked into inner join. Now we are going to talk about right join. So what is right join? The right joins help to fetch all records from the right table and the match records from the left table. Right? From the image itself, you can see you will get all the data from the B table, but you will get only the matching data from the A table. So basically, you can take it as an opposite of left join, right? So we are going to see how we can actually implement this concept in MySQL Workbench. So let's go to MySQL Workbench to let's have a look at how we can actually implement this, right? So these are all the ways it's actually help us to use our relational database. So if you don't work with relational database, then you cannot make the relation between two tables and you cannot fetch all the data, right? So here, this is the picture when actually this relational database management systems help us to fetch data, right? So let's have a look at the MySQL Workbench. So here already we have 3 tables, right? So I have shown you how you can actually check how many tables you have, right? So first, again, I am doing these things every time and I'm repeating these commands because if you actually get familiar with these commands, actually it will help you to do all the data fetching, data manipulations things, right? So if you want to see your tables, what are the tables you have? So maybe we are doing a course over here, but maybe when you are doing these things and maybe you are not doing the whole course at a time, that time this is recap is always gonna help you, right? So now I am going to write show, and what I need to want to see what are the tables I have in my database, and always use the semicolon in your query because this is the syntax of MySQL. Let me just run it. Okay, you can see I have customer, branch, and account. Okay, so now what I want my all the customers, right? I want my all the customers who has the account, who doesn't have the account. So if anyone has the account, please show me that as well, right? So in that case, what we are going to do, right? We are going to write select star from account, right join customer, because first one is select, star is basically what are the data you want. Star is basically stands for you want to fetch whole table irrespective of any attributes. You want all the attributes from your table. Select star from what table you want, that is account. Then I said right join, so I want the join should be in right join, and then which table you want to join. So in my case I want to join with customer, so customer on, then which foreign key you have for particular joining for particular that to table. So for my case I have customer id, so customer id. Okay, I have attribute customer id in customer table as well and customer id in account table as well, right? So I have written customer dot cust id is equals to account dot cust id, right? So this is where your foreign key actually help you to merge two tables. Okay, now let me just execute this command and we will change as well to see the difference between them. Okay, so you can see what I have got over here. I got all the customer id, you can see I got all the customer id. Okay, I have got all the customer id and we got all the matching data we have in our data, right? That account number. Now you are going to say, okay, I got all the account, I got all the customers, but now I want only those customer who has the account, right? So we are going to change this order, right? Now I am going to write select star from customer, right join account. Okay, then I am going to write what? Account dot cust id and customer dot cust id. Let me just execute this one. Yes, you can see I got it. Okay, so only I got those customer who has the account in my bank. Okay, so the customer I have in my database, but that customer does not have the account number, they are not going to show. So the concept we have learned that you will get all the data from your right table, right? But you will not get all the data from your left table. So basically right table is going to help you that all the data you will get, but from the left table you will get all the matching data, right? So this is where, and this is how this right join concept works. Now we will go back to the presentation and we'll have a look at what are the other join we have in our MySQL. So we have learned about how right join works, right? Now we are going to talk about the other join techniques we have in our MySQL. So in that case, we have a concept called full join. But what is full join, right? The full outer join helps to fetch all the records from both the table, whether there is a match or not. So from the image itself, you can understand and you can see that if if you have two tables like A and B, and you want all the data from both the table, that's irrespective of their matching in the data or not, right? But wait, why do we need to have a data like that? So sometimes if you want to see, or if you want to just this merge two table and to understand what are the data you have, so that time we actually go for using full outer join. So this join does not check for any similarity in the both of the table. They just take all the data from both of the table and just print them out, right? So this is the concept of full join. Now we will go to MySQL workbench and let's have a look at how we can actually execute our full join concepts and how it's going to help us for manipulating and fetching our data. So here we know we have tables of customer, branch, and we have a table called account. Now we are going to use the same technique. So if you can have a closer look on this, so the main syntax for joining is same. That what is differ the concepts, right? Whenever you're going to use inner join or left join or right join, or you want to use a full join, right? So in that case, your syntax will be same, but what you need to remind what are the concepts behind that. What will happen if you use right join? What will happen if you use left join? And what will happen if you use inner join? Right? If your base is clear, what are the joins and how these joins are working? So it's just a one syntax you need to understand and you need to remind to write your query, right? And also do let us know in the comment what you feel about this join and what are the problem you have faced when you go for using the full join and right join, left join, or this is a confusing thing, right? So if you are a beginner, if you start learning SQL, so obviously I do believe that what join should you use, it's actually a very complicated thing. Okay, but when you start using these things like quite regularly, that time it is quite okay that you know what are the things you want, what are the data you want to fetch from your table. So that time you can easily identify which join will work for you. But if you are just a beginner, if you start your career in SQL, so in that time you really need to have some time and you need to give some more time to understand what are the join concepts, right? And how they are going to help you to manipulate and fetch your data. Now we are going to talk about full joined account. So in that full join, first you need to write select the normal command, and every time if you want to fetch any data, you have to keep that in your mind. You start with select, right? So select is the command. It's just if you want to fetch anything from your data set, you have to use that. Select star. Star is basically all the attributes you want irrespective of anything, right? Select star from which table, right? So customer table. Select star from customer, then you need to write which type of join. So if you actually break this query into few parts, so you can see first you need to write select command. Then what are the attributes you want to go for? So for my case, I want all the attributes. Then from which table you want to take them, right? So select star from customers table. From customer table, I want all the data. Then what type of join, right? It's a right join, left join, inner join, or it can be full join, right? So I have written full join. Then you need to write which table you want to join in the previous one, right? So in that case, you are going to write account. So I want to merge two tables, that is customer and account together. From there, I have written on, right? This is the syntax you need to remind on. Then your foreign key, right? So we all have a foreign key to add two tables or to making a relationship between two tables. So in that case, we have written account dot customer ID. So customer ID is our foreign key. Account dot customer ID is equals to customer dot customer ID. So let's have a look at what we are going to get after using full outer join. Okay, so I got an error, but why I got the error? Customer dot cast ID, right? Okay, let me just do that. Okay, so here I am going to write this. So we were getting error when we are trying to write select star from where the table name, the account table, right? So basically we were getting the error when we are trying to do a full outer join using full outer join keyword. But why? I will answer you that why we are getting the error. Let me do that again. So select star from account, then we need to write, if you're going to write full outer join, and then we are going to write the which table you want to join. So basically it's a customer table. So from there on, and the same foreign key concepts, right? Yeah, yes, and then the semicolon. Okay, but we are getting an error that outer is not valid at this point, at this position. But why? Or if I'm going to remove this as well, it will give me an error, right? So maybe something is not there. Yeah, so why we are getting this error? So basically after MySQL 4.0, I mean they are not gonna use, or they are not gonna support full join technique directly. So if you want to do full join, you need to use a union concepts. So what does this union stands for? So what we do, we just need to write select star from account, the table name, and the left join. Maybe you can do, I mean, we are basically doing the normal union concepts. We are taking the left join and we are taking the right join. So basically it's going to be a full join, right? But directly it's not going to take the full join concepts from MySQL 4.0. Okay, so this maybe they can ask you in the interview that why we cannot use full outer join or full join in MySQL. Yes, we can do that, but we actually need to use some other concepts because from MySQL 4.0, they don't support full join directly. That full join keywords, right? So what we are going to do, we are going to write select, then star. What are the attributes? I want all the attributes from which table, the account table, okay? Then I am going to do the left join first. So if you're going to do left join, you will get all the records from the left table. So left join, then the customer, the table name, then the foreign key concept you have, account.customer ID is equals to customer.cust ID, right? Then we are going to write union, okay? The normal union concepts, union, then select star from account, the same thing. Now we are going to use right join, right? Then right join customer, the table name on account.customer ID, the foreign key concepts. Now we are going to write the semicolon. Don't forget to put the semicolon, okay? And please do let us know in the comment that what you feel about, and did you ever also get the same error like the way we got? Okay, so basically doing that because I just want to show you why we were getting the error. Okay, so if you are going to use higher version from MySQL 4.0, that time you need to use this technique. Yes, you can see it's already worked and we got all the record. Okay, so if the customer does not have account, then also we get the record, and if the customer has account, so then also we get the record, right? So basically what it does, it's the full outer join concept is basically you just want to take all the data from particular two tables, okay, irrespective of any condition, irrespective of any matching, right? So this is what full outer join concept stands for. Right now we will go to the presentation again and we will have a look at what are the other join concepts we have in our MySQL. Now we will have a look at what is self-join and how we are going to use self-join concepts in our MySQL. Before start the self-join concept, let me just introduce you what is self-join. A self-join is basically helps to join a table with itself only. But why do we need that? Because there is some time we need to combine the data with the other data in the same table and the table by itself only. In that case, we use self-join. We can perform self-join using table aliases. The table aliases actually help us not to use the same table name twice with a single statement. But if we use the same table name more than one time in a single query without table aliases, it will throw an error. The table aliases enable us to use the temporary name of the table that we are going to use in the query, right? So now we are going to say how can you actually use this self-join concepts, right? And what are the examples of self-join concepts, right? So let's go to MySQL workbench and let's have a look at how we can implement this concept. So we have a table called student table. In the table, we have few attributes. We have student ID, name, course ID, and duration. Student ID is obviously varchar and name is also varchar. So we give the length of varchar 30 for name, and for course ID we give 30 as well, and the duration of the course, right? So here we are going to execute the student table. So we need to write create table and the table name, that is student, and then all the attributes. Let me just execute that. Yes. Now what we are going to do, we are going to insert the data. So inserting data, again we need to use insert command, that insert into, then where you need to insert, that is student table. Then you are going to provide all the values. For my case, the first student ID is 1, then the name of the student is Asif, and the course ID is 2, and the duration is 4 hours, right? So this is how we are actually going to insert all the data in the student table. Let me just execute all the data we are going to insert. Yes, it's already inserted. Now we are going to use the self join. But wait, how we are going to use that? Right? So we are going to get all the result, that is student ID and the name, from the table where student ID is equal and course ID is not equal. Right? So basically from the table itself, you want to understand that a particular student is enrolled for how many courses, right? So in that case, if you look into the data, you can see Asif is actually enrolled for 2 courses. One course is 2 and second course is 1. Right? Atul is also enrolled for 2 courses, that is 1 and 3. But for the case of Jasmine and Aditi, they don't enroll for the multiple courses. So basically from this data, you want to understand how many students are actually enrolled for multiple courses. That time we are going to use self-join technique. But how we are going to use that, right? First, you need to write select always we are going to use that, right? Then we are going to give a alias name. The alias is s1 dot. Then we are going to what you want to have. If you want to have student ID, you can give student ID, and if you want to get the name, you can actually go for doing that as well. So s1 dot student ID, comma s1 dot name. So I want both the student ID and name. From where? From the student table, right? And then I am going to give a alias, the concept we have learned in the beginning of the session, right? In the beginning of the tutorial, we have learned how we are actually use this alias concept. So basically giving a temporary name to a table. So in this case, we are going to give ACE1. Now for the student ACE2, the second temporary name, because we are going to use the same table, and this is why we need to give 2 different alias. Otherwise, it's going to give an error. Then we have written where, the where clause we have learned in the beginning as well, that now we are going to give a condition, and based on the condition this join is going to happen, right? What is our condition? The student ID will be same but course ID will not be same. So in that case we are going to write ACE1 first alias dot student ID is equals to ACE2 dot student ID, and the second one is ACE1 dot course ID, that is not equals to, this sign is basically used for not equals to. So not equals to ACE2 dot course ID, right? So let me just execute that and let's have a look at what we are going to have. Yes, you can see this Jasmine and Aditi is not there in our table because you can see Asif, or maybe we are going to write, okay, so I just want to see the course ID as well. So in this time we have written course ID, right? Let me just execute that. Yes, you can see for we got the student ID, name and the course ID. So Asif is basically enrolled for course 1 and course 2, and Atul is actually enrolled for course 3 and course 1. Right? This is how, if you want to get data from your one table and you have no other option, like if you want to get the name that who are actually enrolled for multiple courses, that time you really need to go for using self join. And self join is one of the most used technique and one of the most favorite question for the interviewer. They are going to ask you about self join. So it's very necessary that you are actually have a quite a clear idea about self join, right? So now we will almost see all the joins we have in SQL. Now let's go to presentation and let's have a look at what else we have in our MySQL tutorial. In this part, we have talked about what is join in MySQL, what is the concept behind it, and how to implement these particular concepts in your MySQL workbench. I hope you like the video and please do let us know what you think about this video. Before complete the tutorial, let me introduce that Great Learning has came up with the idea of Great Learning Academy, where you will get almost 80 plus free courses, and after completing your course you can claim your certificate as well. And if you want to do these courses in your mobile application, that is also possible using Great Learning app. Thank you so much.